Tonight, a secret visit from a global steel producer as final bids are settled for the Arium sale. And down with a bang and a cloud of smoke, demolition continues at the Port Augusta power station site.
This is Southern Cross News with Tim Hatfield.
Good evening. The head of global steel producer Liberty House has toured Arium's Whyalla operations ahead of the deadline for a final bid for the company. Southern Cross News captured the British businessman leaving the city on a flight late on Friday after spending the day at the steelworks. John Hunt joins us now with this exclusive report. John, I guess this shows Liberty House is still in the running.
It does, Tim. It was long suspected the company was interested in Arium's Australian businesses, and this is proof they're right in the mix. Owner Sanjeev Gupta made a late inspection of the company's Whyalla operations, ahead of final bids which are due in May. Mr. Gupta and staff from his British-based business arrived at the airport late Friday night after spending the day in Whyalla. This is the last of a number of covert visits they've made to Whyalla to assess whether they want to purchase Arium. It's understood they spent time at both the Whyalla steelworks and the mines in the company of Cordamentha and Arium management. They didn't stick around at the airport for too long, boarding a private jet and flying out of town within 15 minutes. The timing of their visit was a little ironic, as it coincided with the first anniversary of Arium going into administration. Mr. Gupta has spoken in the past of his desire to buy the plant to join his global steelmaking business. He recently bought underperforming steel plants in Scotland with a view to turning them around from loss makers into profitable businesses. He's got some competition on his hands, with Korean firm POSCO also believed to be the second finalist. On a side note, Cordamentha has marked the first anniversary by thanking employees for their hard work over the last 12 months. In an internal email, Mark Mentha said the sacrifices made by employees have helped put the company on better footing. Mr. Mentha noted their efforts have helped cut $250 million in expenditure, and he's urged them to continue their good work. So, Tim, it remains to be seen who will be the new owners of Arium as the sale process enters its final weeks. Arium declined to comment on Mr. Gupta's visit, other than saying they're aiming for a sale by June 30.
OK, thanks, John. John Hunt reporting from Whyalla there. A 35-year-old woman had to be airlifted to the Royal Adelaide Hospital in a critical condition after a horse-riding fall near Port Lincoln yesterday. The woman was unconscious when emergency crews arrived on the scene, her life-threatening injuries requiring immediate transport to Adelaide, where she remains in a critical condition. Our reporter Jason Kemp has the details.
Emergency services responded yesterday morning to a frantic phone call on Hidden Valley Road in Boston. A 35-year-old woman was riding on the property when she was thrown from her horse, suffering serious head and leg injuries as a result. The woman was discovered unconscious by residents, who then alerted the local emergency service. Ambulance workers finding the woman unresponsive at the scene. Residents helped assist emergency crews to stabilise the woman, where she was treated before being transported to the emergency department at the Port Lincoln Hospital. The woman's life-threatening injuries requiring immediate specialist action, so she was then airlifted to the Royal Adelaide. The rescue helicopter landed on Port Lincoln Centenary Oval late yesterday afternoon, where crews were assisted by the woman's family. She was then flown to the RAH, where she remains in a critical condition in the intensive unit ward. It's still unknown the exact circumstances in which the woman came to be thrown from the horse, but the quick actions here from emergency services may have prevented a tragedy.
Jason Kemp reporting there. More of Port Augusta's old power station was demolished this morning, causing a thick cloud of black coal dust to blow over the city. Anticipating concern from residents, the Environment Protection Authority was on site with handheld air monitoring equipment. Our reporter Lauren Rose has this report.
Port Augusta's skyline is changing rapidly as more and more of the old power station comes down. This morning it was another coal bunker, transfer tower and the connecting conveyor belts that were demolished using small cutting charges to bring down the structures with control into a designated zone. The coal bunker was essentially a storage container, and although it had been washed down twice prior to the demolition, a thick cloud of coal dust did immediately rise and make its way across Port Augusta. Flinders Power said its air monitors did not show an increased level of dust following the event, and the EPA was also on site with handheld monitors. But that wasn't enough to reassure the public, with residents sharing their concern on social media. The old power station's main stack is due to come down next month, and the world's largest demolition machine has been put together by mechanical engineers to tackle what's left in June. Meanwhile, rehabilitation of the surrounding site continues. Almost 300,000 cubic metres of topsoil has been delivered to the ash dam.
Lauren Rose with that report. Broken Hill's Silver City show had been facing an uncertain future on the back of declining profits and attendance, but a recent grant discussion with the City Council has yielded positive results for the show's committee, who says the new agreement will help with annual operating costs.
The show bags, the rides, the fun and excitement of the Silver City show will go on.
This $4,000 they've now given us will take away from our expenditure. That's a big saving to us. Help us out.
There were fears the show's days were numbered, with increasing costs to put it on taking its toll. In 2016, the committee lost $6,000. The electricity alone was $11,000. The committee's calls were answered by the General Manager.
He's the first General Manager that seen what I was talking about and seen that we needed help.
Mr Ralph says the Silver City show doesn't just run over 3 days.
This show runs for 10 days, actually not 3. It starts 10 days before the show. All the vans come in, all the trucks come in, all the rides come in. They're all spending money out there. They're all spending fuel, big money.
A new agreement, which will be discussed further, will see council continue to cover the rubbish collection fee, which amounts to roughly $2,000. Additionally, they have now offered to provide Memorial Oval free of charge for the show's duration, something that would cost the committee $4,000. It ensures the show will keep on running for the immediate future. Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Police hold concerns for the welfare of a man who was struck by a truck in the mid-north yesterday. Officers were called to McLaughlin Road near the Augusta Highway at Beaufort around 11:40 in the morning. The truck clipped the man, however he got up and walked away before the driver could locate him. He's described as Caucasian, in his 50s, about 175 centimetres tall, and was wearing a hat and blue collared workwear. Police say they have concerns he may need medical attention. They'd like anyone with information to contact Crime Stoppers. Well, stay with us. Still to come in tonight's local news, a safe spot to swim for those still keen to hit the water off Wallaroo. The details ahead. Welcome back. Police are urging families to stay safe as the Easter long weekend and school holidays approach. Whether you're staying in town or hitting the road, there are things you can do to make sure you get the most out of your time off. Here's Lauren with this week's Police Talk.
You may be ready to take off on a holiday, but the number one tip from police is to make sure your house still looks occupied while you're away.
Have their mail regularly collected by friends or neighbours, and just people coming and going like friends just to check on the house, so it looks like there is people are still staying there.
And if it's a road trip you're going on, remember the speed limit on all open roads is 100 kilometres an hour unless otherwise signed. It's wise to take rest breaks every couple of hours and to share the driving if possible.
If you're travelling away, letting other family and friends know your travel itinerary and an emergency contact number if there's something that happens at home or people can reach you.
Always keep valuables out of sight. That includes making sure they're not left visible in your car at petrol stations.
That's a really important thing. That's also if you're staying at caravan parks as well, just making sure your valuables are kept locked away and out of sight.
Or if you're planning on hanging out at home this Easter, remember to teach kids to be safe pedestrians and also how to use bikes, scooters and skateboards responsibly.
Parents need to ensure that the children are wearing approved helmets and that they're properly fitted and done up as well.
It's an offence for anyone aged 12 or over to ride on footpaths. Lauren Rose, Southern Cross News.
A 16-year-old Broken Hill girl had to be taken to hospital on Saturday night after she was allegedly struck by a wine bottle thrown by another person. The alleged assault happened just after midnight on Oxide Street. Police are continuing their investigations and ask if anyone with information can contact Crime Stoppers. Broken Hill has been named as one of 3 locations in New South Wales to develop a women's health centre. The Silver City has been put second on the list for the health centre, which aims to provide high-quality, low-cost, accessible healthcare for all women.
The benefits of a new women's health centre in Broken Hill are endless.
Preventable hospitalisations, reducing domestic violence, improving health and wellbeing to reduce early deaths, all from preventable causes, are all core business for women's health centres.
As well as a health centre, a domestic violence prevention clinic will also be part of the development. Domestic violence is a problem in the region. Broken Hill Police say it's 50 to 60% of their workload. The aim is to make the $1.3 million centre a hub for victims.
They'll be able to go to one place where they'd be able to be set up with case management, but also with if they've got physical injuries, also with counselling.
It would be really working to prevent and intervene early, as well as work very closely with crisis services.
There have been no new women's health centres since the 1980s. Over the next 20 years, the demand for health services is expected to double, so new centres in Broken Hill, Griffith and Tamworth will help greatly.
Now that we've got an ageing population, it's forecast that we're going to have a much greater need for services in the area, especially in regards to health. So, it'll be of great benefit to us not only now but in the future.
The establishment of the centres will be spread over the coming years. Patrick Roinke, Southern Cross News.
Well, stay with us when we return after the break. Some high-octane action from the weekend's motocross meet in Port Lincoln. The details ahead. Welcome back. 3 Whyalla playgrounds are being replaced this month as part of a council program to revamp the popular but ageing sites. Council says the new spaces will have modern equipment to ensure kids can have fun but stay safe.
Joseph and Harper Hughes are having one last play on the Wilson Park playground before it's replaced. They can't wait for the new and improved equipment, and they've got a few requests for the new areas.
Lots of ropes and nets, maybe like in between the trees so you can balance and swing on them.
I like those swing things that you climb on.
3 Whyalla playgrounds at Wilson Park and at Parfitt and Getty Street are being torn down so new equipment can be installed. Work has already begun at Parfitt and Getty's, while Wilson Park will be replaced later this month. Council says community feedback has helped with designing the new equipment.
Our playgrounds have been looking tired and old. There's a whole range of new equipment, a whole range of new ideas, and we're incorporating them into these new playgrounds.
Mayor Brewer says some equipment will be tailored for teenagers, while some aspects will help kids get back in touch with nature. She says both adults and kids will love the new sites, and they'll make the city's parks look even better.
Really going to be great for the city, great for our young people, great for the parents and grandparents, and it's going to improve the look of our city.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Port Lincoln held the South Australian State Motocross Championships over the weekend. The 2-day event saw riders from across the state put on a high-flying show. It was the first time Port Lincoln has hosted the event for over a decade.
High-flying adrenaline action on the Eyre Peninsula. Riders took to the skies in Port Lincoln this weekend during the State Motocross Championships.
This is part of South Australia and try and give this club a good run at holding a state championship, and they've done really well so far.
It's the first of 5 rounds across SA where riders battle it out for points and local rivalry.
State titles are really good, there's a lot of competition and stuff as well, a lot of local guys that, have a crack at their home tracks. So, for me, it's awesome preparation for the Nationals and just to get some more bike time.
The event attracting national motocross races to the region, giving locals a chance to saddle up against the best.
Good not to travel for once, we're a long way from anywhere, and lots of good riders here like Luke Harbour and Daniel Banks, and that's great.
The pro riders happy to share tips and help develop the next generation. But once the gate drops, the competition revs up.
Definitely a big race. It's not something little, and it's something that you take pretty seriously.
It's been 10 years since Port Lincoln has hosted a state championship round, but after today's success, Daniel is confident racing will return much sooner to the EP. Isn't that right, mate?
It's a good head out with these calibre of riders before we continue with state titles and nationals for the rest of the year.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
Well, across the region, sport is transitioning from summer competitions to winter. Last week we wrapped up all the basketball, the baseball and softball, but among the mix this weekend is a touch of netball and footy. Keziah Sullivan joins us now with the results. Kez, what's been happening over the weekend?
Well, Tim, we're a little light on the sports results this week as sports goers take a quick break before the winter season kicks off. What we do have, though, is some promising results from the Northern Demons Soccer Club here in Port Pirie. The team were on the road this week, travelling to Adelaide on Saturday, but that didn't stop them from pulling another victory. They thrashed the Uni SA team by 3 goals. In the other Port Pirie League, the Savoy team enjoyed the home game this week, but unfortunately couldn't come home with the win. The Plimpton Bulldogs defeated them by just 1 goal. Down the road to Whyalla Soccer and Croatia had a massive win over the Lions. 2 goals would usually set you up for a win, but that wasn't enough for Westlands to defeat Steel United 4-2. Staying in Whyalla, and their netball squad was the first to kick off competition across the region. It was an early start to the season for the netballers after a massive summer break. True Blue defeated Kiwi by 8 goals, and YCW also had a good start to the year with a 10-goal win over Rapina. Over to the Silver City, and the football competition continued this week with round 2. South once again dominated the competition with a massive 15-goal win over West. In the other game, the score was a little closer. North defeated Central by 41 points. So, Tim, a quick sports wrap this week, but a number of competitions will return after the Easter break. And of course, if you want to see your sport mentioned on Southern Cross News, drop us a line at localsport@sca.com.au.
Good stuff, thank you, Kez. Well, stay with us. After the break, we'll have a check of the local weather for the week ahead. Welcome back. Turning to the weather now, fairly fine and sunny today to kick off the week. 21 for Port Augusta and for Port Pirie, 20 in Whyalla. Port Lincoln a passing shower and 19 degrees, and a sunny 20 in Broken Hill. On the national satellite image, some patchy cloud is being pushed our way, but a high in the bite will move it on fairly quickly. Out on the Gulf waters, the winds to 15 knots and southerly, seas to 1.5 metres also to the south. Sunrises just before 20 to 7. So mainly fine into tomorrow for most parts, looking at 24 in Port Augusta and in Port Pirie, 22 in Whyalla. Port Lincoln also 22 with some showers again. A sunny 21 degrees in Broken Hill. Then fine and sunny midweek with 24 for Port Lincoln, then a sunny 25 on Thursday. Cleve 24 both days, Woodner 26 and 28. Whyalla expecting a top of 24 for Wednesday, then 26 on Thursday. Port Augusta sunny with 26 and 28 later in the week. Kadina 25 then 26 as we approach the Easter break. Port Pirie with a sunny 26 on Wednesday, then a fine 27 for Thursday. Clare 23 then 24. And in Broken Hill, sunny all week with 24 midweek and then 26 degrees after that. Well, finally tonight, a story from the weekend we found a little bit amusing. Whyalla police were forced to deal, that was terrible. Whyalla police were forced to deal with an avian traffic issue after 2 emus were spotted on a number of Whyalla-Norrie streets. They were wandering up and down the streets, creating a traffic hazard for motorists. Police managed to herd them back towards nearby scrubland. On a serious note, though, police have reminded drivers to be vigilant when driving in the area, as the emus could return. I've always found emus terrifying, and I don't know why. I think it's their little eyes. Well, that is the local news for this Monday evening. We'll see you back here tomorrow night from 6:30. I'm Tim Hatfield from the Southern Cross News team. Have a good evening. Good night.